Be thinking of the real world, because if you're banking your entire life on grades, I can tell you right now, man, there's loads of straight A students out there that have no experience in the real world, aren't going to be that great in the real world. I've met some of them, and that people are not going to want to hire. All right, guys, got another question here, and this person writes, "Hi, Mr. Push, my name is Ben from New Jersey, and I am currently in my junior year of high school. Ed Bolian from Benwicki told me to talk to you about post-high school education. I watched his video on what he did college-wise in order to get a car job, but he said numerous times that he never a hard-working student and didn't really prioritize and care too much about his grades. On the contrary, I myself care a lot about my grades and work incredibly hard. I take several AP and honors classes and have all A's except for one B+. I obviously want to be able to afford and own expensive cars when I'm older, and I want to go into the financial/business field of careers. I've taken several career quizzes my school has, and I get business management every time. My main problem is I don't know how good of a school I should get into while still minimizing debt. I'm also not sure about what specific majors to pursue. I'm hoping you can give me some information and help me figure this out." That's from Ben. Well, Ben, thank you very much for writing. That certainly means a lot, and I hope I can give you some good thoughts. You know, Ed Bolian's a neat guy. He's very smart, clearly, with marketing, with presentation, with business, with rentals, with cars, debt management, markets, sales, everything. And it's really nice. He thought a lot of me with Genius Garage too. So let's talk about you. Okay, so junior year of high school, journalism, you're interested in business management, finance, obviously want to get some cool cars one day. But your biggest thing is school. What school to go to, how big a one, how prestigious one, how much money to spend, and your grades. Let me condense all this down to one thing, first and foremost, to start with. The real world. Let's focus on that right now, not school. So, if you're interested in business management and financial related things, you need quickly start making some friends in that world and shadow some people. And I don't care if you have to get people coffee or sweep floors. You need to get there and figure it out. For better, for worse, good or bad, it's going to be a learning experience. I suggest everything from trying to find an entrepreneurial type person that's maybe like a 1 to 5 man operation, whatever that may be, and see what their trials and tribulation in life is like. I suggest you find something big. I suggest you try to see more of a corporate setting. Maybe you can find somebody who's managing finances or CEOing some kind of corporate center to smaller levels. I also suggest you find some wealth managers. And if you do find some wealth managers to talk to, keep an open mind and don't let them schmooze you. You may find out it's not all wine and roses, how that stuff happens. There's so much out there, and the one thing I have learned from my experiences in and around schools and through Genius Garage is that school only gets you so far. It gets your piece of paper on the wall. It gets you your theoretical, and it's your start and it's your base. But if that's all you do, expect to have a difficult time, because you have got to match real world experiences and real world life, who you are, how you've grown, what your ambitions are. How do you conquer difficulties? How do you work with others? Those are all the things that are going to end up getting you that job. And right now, it's your junior year, so you got about 1.5 years before you need to be in college. So you've effectively got like less than a year right now to really kind of figure it out. Because you need to start narrowing things down and kind of knowing what you want to go after. That is to assume if you want to go on that standard progression, like through high school, then college, then life, so to speak. If you need to take a year off to figure things out, then that's an option, okay? Don't take way too much time off, because then you get older and it's harder to get back into the swimming in the stream with the fishes, so to speak. So these are things to think about. With regard to what major, it's a difficult thing. my first and foremost thing to say to you is, if you're investing in school, you're investing money. I don't care if you're getting a student loan, you're going to have to pay for that. You're going to have to pay more than what it actually costs because of, interest. Which means a couple of things. If you need to take a loan to do it, that means you're going to need to get a job to pay it off. And if you can't get a decent job in the field that you went, into school for and went into debt for, then why did you do that? Why did you go into debt for that? And you also need to be really nicely aligned so you can definitely get one, and a decent one, to pay those loans off. So one of the worst mistakes I see young people do that just kills me when I see it, oh my God, is to go to school just because they think they have to, and it makes their parents and everybody happy, but they have no direction, no roadmap, no plans afterward, and listen to one teacher who doesn't know squat about anything and hasn't been in the real world for 30 years, if ever. They're like, well, maybe if you go through my course someday, maybe I could kind of help you, hook you up with somebody. Yeah, no, that's not enough to bank a bunch of money in debt on. So you got to know. So what I would say to you is, when you're looking at your majors, let's say there's 4 things that suit you that you're interested in, because of what you're going to do with your life, not just because you're interested in studying it. There's a lot of things I would like to study, but it's not going to pay the bills, so you can do that as a hobby. There's really cool places called libraries, and they're free. So go to school because it's going to help you get on the career path that you want to go. School is not the end-all and be-all of learning. And learning does not stop or end with school. Learning is a lifelong process. But when you're going to school, it's an investment in your future to have a career and afford you a living and a life. So you got to take that into consideration in terms of the major. So pick 4 of them that really work for you, and weigh what kind of life are they going to give you. How reasonably easy is it for you to find a job around the country, around the world, and in places you want to go to? How competitive are you going to be at that? And you can start kind of eliminating and figuring that direction to go. Also, be careful about picking some general major that you think will work with a bunch of other things just because it seems like it does, and in reality it won't. Because then you'll end up in the same boat as about a jillion other poor young people, that they're way in debt with the major that didn't really necessarily help them out much finding that job that's going to pay that back and go somewhere. Typically, I work with engineers, designers, that's their thing more. But looking at education, looking as an investment, what it's going to do with your life and what direction is, still holds true no matter who you are and what you're looking at in terms of going into it. But it is an investment, so it's going to need to give you a return on investment. Now, something else I want to say, hey, kudos for getting good grades. That means something. It doesn't actually mean everything. And no, I'm not going to go into that same old thing that people say. It's like, well, the top 5 billionaires in the world dropped out of college. No, it doesn't. I'm not going into that, even though that may be true. My point is this. There are a lot of people out there that just excel in a school type environment, and they do really well. They can get really good grades, but they just aren't that great in the real world. When it comes to taking risks and believing yourself and making things happen. And then there are people that are kind of meh in school, but that are amazing in the real world. So just remember that. I'm not saying anything, I'm just throwing some information out there. The other thing too is this. When you start looking at what schools you want to go into, they're competitive. And just good grades aren't going to get you into them necessarily. What have you done extracurricular? Have you helped out your community at all? Do you do any kind of philanthropic work or volunteer or do any good? These are the things that on a college acceptance make you look like the kind of person that a college wants to have. And then of course there's the scholarship competitions and aspect and things like that. You got to get into it if you want to go after scholarships. So be thinking of the real world, because if you're banking your entire life on grades, I can tell you right now, man, there's loads of straight A students out there that have no experience in the real world, aren't going to be that great in the real world. I've met some of them, and that people are not going to want to hire because they can see that too. So by no means am I saying that's you. I'm just saying that, hey man, awesome on the grades, but keep that up. But you got to be thinking about what you're doing in the real world and how you're augmenting your resume and time and life and your experiences right now while you have this opportunity. Don't miss out on life, all the personal things, having fun, a little time for yourself, whatever that may be that you're into, bicycling or some time with friends and things. But obviously surround yourself with good people, make good choices with your time and what you're doing and enjoying life. But there's certainly a lot more to that than grades. And maybe this is pretty general talk, and I probably sound like, I don't know, your uncle or dad right now. But this is it. In terms of schools and where to go to, that's a tough one. But I can tell you this, with my time in looking into Genius Garage, and I probably, do I want to say names of schools or not, or companies? I'll avoid saying names of schools and companies, but you'll get the gist. So a bunch of my students have gotten amazing jobs, okay, at like world-renowned automotive manufacturers and engineering companies, from small to large. They're making great livings, and they learn a lot. One of my students actually does recruiting for, well, I'll say this name, General Motors, for other engineers and students. So that's really cool when one of my students actually helps a big global company recruit other students. I think that's pretty neat. But, and I see things. And from all those experiences, one thing I've learned is that companies, they're not dumb. They're not necessarily just taking kids from all these different like Ivy League schools and high-end things and everything like that. Because maybe these companies have found out that some of these kids are really entitled. Or maybe if they're from a certain part of the country, they're more likely to be into some kind of substance abuse, which may or may not be legal in places, but companies don't like it anyway. So in this day and age, a high-end school or school with a lot of power behind its name, it still carries some weight. The famous, big-time, expensive, hoi polloi schools out there, they're always going to carry some weight. They're always going to mean something. They're hard to get into. They take people from a certain demographic. But it isn't a prerequisite of having an unbelievable career, okay? So what I mean to say is this. When you're looking in a school, look into it for what experience you're actually going to get. Don't let them sell you, because like any salesman can walk into a school and give you the same song, give you whatever song and dance and get you to go in there, okay? But really, how well do their graduates do? What is their school program about? And don't let them sell you on some avant-garde like, we let you design your own major because there's so many unique people and jobs out there. Yeah, no, okay. If you have to explain your major to an employer, you're probably already behind the wave a little bit, okay? I don't think that works very well for everybody. But what I'm gonna say is, you gotta dig deep. Dig past the surface to find out, are people really getting a job? How does the world view and react and look at whatever school you may go to? Is that school, do they have alumni that have the kind of jobs and place you want to go? Maybe you'll find somebody to reach out to that has done what you want to do or can give you advice one way or the other. And this holds true for anything and looking into it, man. But do not make decisions in life, especially school and direction and careers, and what you're doing to set yourself up for that just because it seems right, feels good, or people make you feel like you have to. Do it because it's going to give you the right return on investment of who you are and your life and your career path. The other thing, too, is there's that old baby boomer image. I swear it came from the baby boomers. They're like, follow your dreams. Yeah, okay, that's cool and all, but like, let's make a living. That's kind of good too. And there are also things called hobbies, okay, which you have on the side that are fun, and who knows, maybe they become such a big deal someday that they can give you a job and living. But you know what gives me a lot of satisfaction, I think a lot of other people, being a valued part of some sort of business or community where your skills and talents mean something and they can afford you a nice living and in the future, a family one day, and also potentially getting some cool cars. Also, don't pick your career just because you want to make X number of dollars, like just because of that. Don't get me wrong, that should definitely be an important thing. And I really hate ceilings, the proverbial ceilings. So I hate being in a position where I'm going to cap out or I'll never be in a better position than this, so to speak. I want to be able to go high. Even if I never get there, I still want the opportunity. I think that's a very American way to go. But, think about that too. There are majors out there that are really cool that you'd love and sink your teeth into, but they're going to set you up to be, kind of broke, and that's not much fun. So, maybe do that kind of stuff as a hobby and go after the things that give you personal satisfaction in your career and job. They're going to help get you to a really great place, or get you to a good place and a good start for your career, but afford you the flexibility. So if you find yourself wanting to shift career direction a little bit, you have the ability to do that without getting totally screwed up or totally having to go back to school. And the other thing too is, you're a young man, and it stinks to think about your whole life and getting way too serious right now, because that's not much fun. But the one thing I've learned from doing Genius Garage with all these students and self-evaluating and looking at everybody and talking and learning is, you really do only get this one shot to do this right now. I mean, you can go back to school, but let's face it, once you get older, your mid-20s, late 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever, yeah, going back to school and starting a career then doesn't really work that well. And as much as employers are not supposed to age discriminate, oh yeah, they discriminate left, right, and center for every reason they want to. So you do need to get this about as right as you can right now, and get it done. Money means a lot. Don't go into debt for something that's not going to give you the right return, okay? But also don't cheap out if something's really going to be the right thing for you. And if you go with the direction, you really need to see that through and finish it, because that's the most efficient thing. So you better be good about your decision. If you have to change your major early on, I heard this said one other time, you get one chance to change it. Otherwise, you're going to end up a perpetual student and spending ridiculous sums of money, and it's going to look funny to employers and whatnot. So do take this time right now in high school to figure it out, really do your research and look at it, talk to alumni, talk to real people, get real world experiences, learn what you find worthwhile, learn what you hate, and learn what works. I think that's going to make your future and your roadmap unfold and make some choices clear. So I hope this was helpful and you survived my dad advice. Anyway, thank you for writing me. And for everybody else out there, I hope you enjoyed this, that you will like, comment, and subscribe. See you next time.